slide shows the intended periodization plan that we had built for Rebecca's hardest block of springtime training, which included one 6-day race in Australia and which led up to a second. So as you can see, we had planned for her to do a high-volume, low-intensity block. We had intended for her to do a high-volume, low-intensity block before this, and to use the race in Australia as her early season intensity, as revealed by the schedule we've got laid out here. And this plan, in theory, would have left her very fatigued, and yet ready for a recovery block, which would lead her into the heart of her season. However, reality intruded. Let's walk through this chart. This is Rebecca's chart from the middle of April through the end of May. At the bottom here, on the lower left-hand corner, you see the word plan with an arrow. Each one of those little blocks was the periodization plan that we had built for this segment of training. But as you can see, we were effectively unable to follow the plan. However, importantly, we were able to use Rebecca's daily recovery score to guide our training and make the best of what was really a pretty bad situation. So first, we identified an incipient cold on 4/16, which peaked 3 days later and dramatically cut her volume. The decision that we made to cut her volume allowed her to recover through the 19th and get in a really solid week of training on the 24th, whereas if we had ignored those symptoms and simply pushed through it, it's very likely that she would not have had that good training block that you see right here, these 5 days. Her recovery score then dropped significantly despite what was really a pretty low-volume week, and I couldn't understand it. And so I called her, and I said, Rebecca, what's going on? Your recovery score shouldn't be this low. And that revealed some pretty serious personal issues that were dramatically undermining her sleep, her mood, and her energy levels. So again, even in that block, which was supposed to be a low-volume, high-intensity block, she simply didn't have the juice to get her heart rate up. She didn't have the focus, didn't have the energy. And so we clipped almost all the intensity out of it and left it at a low volume and made it a low-intensity block. So we were able to give her a really good shot at having a really good pre-race week right here, leading into her stage race in Australia. So the race basically went as expected. We had hoped that she would be able to do some variability in intensity between the different days, so a hard day, a moderate day, a hard day, a moderate day, but she ended up being in a real fight for second overall in the general classification. And so she was unable to follow that variable intensity plan, and instead she just completely buried herself. And as a result, the last 2 days of the race saw her completely crater, which are these 2 days here. And yet she managed to get second overall, which was great. But her recovery score was significantly lower coming out of that race than we had hoped for. So we had to plan a block of recovery right here before leading into her second race of the season. Now lastly, in order to deliver her to the line ready to race, coming off of a really tough race, we had to adapt yet again by injecting what I call a high amplitude intensity block, and you can see that by a really, really hard day, followed by a really, really easy day, followed by a really hard day, followed by a really easy day, which allowed her to recover and yet maintain the intensity and fitness that she gained from her race in Australia in this period. So, in summary, with Rebecca, we were able to use the Restwise data to reveal a cold, to reveal the negative influence of a stressful personal situation, to adapt to the changing stimulus, and to inject 3 compact recovery segments that were not originally planned, and to get 2 fantastic race results from what was really a pretty compromised situation.